This is the GAN flagship from 2019 and this is the flagship from 2022. So what has changed? For every cube I have a couple of ideas which will give you a rough value to each of them, starting with the oldest, the GAN 356XS. A little bit of backstory to begin. This cube was made in 2019 and was the successor to the well-sold GAN 356X. What's great about the XS is that it took the features everyone liked from the X and made them much better. A great example of this is the magnets. On the X, the magnets were changeable. However, you had to have external rods which you slid into the cube. But on the XS, there is a very simple magnet system where you use your fingers or a small tool to move the magnet closer or further away from the other magnet to make it stronger or weaker. This just made adjustments so much better, as now you don't need any extra pieces to change the strength. And that is why this cube has a medium magnet rating. As we progress through this video, the cubes get so much more advanced, and therefore the XS magnets aren't the best out of these cubes. Now onto the tensioning system. Once again, this was massively improved from the predecessor because now most of the pieces needed were already inside of the cube. There are some extras which can be used and they come separately, which is kind of annoying. However, it is still a good jump from the tensioning system on the X, which means it gets a fairly decent tensioning rating. All of these amazing new features mean that I'm going to give this a good improvement rating. It's not the best, but there are certainly some great step ups from the X. In terms of the price, this cube was expensive when I bought it in 2019. However, it is much better now as it is getting quite old. Onto 2020 with the amazing GAN 11M Pro. This sold the best out of all GAN flagships and is still very popular even 3 years later. The 11 added core magnets into the cube which gave it a much more stable and controllable turning feel compared to the X. These magnets could be taken out and replaced to be stronger, as well as changing their strengths via a screwdriver in the corner pieces. This made the magnet get closer or further away from the core to make it stronger or weaker. This is a great idea from GAN, which is why it has a good magnet rating. However, it is not the best out of these 4 cubes, which means it doesn't have the best rating. In terms of the tensioning system, this cube has the exact same as the XS, which means that I will be rating it the same. Now onto the improvement from the previous year. The 11 made some great changes with core magnets, but like I mentioned, the tensioning system remained the same, which slightly reduces the rating it would have got, but it is still quite a large improvement from the XS. The price on the 11 is quite steep and hasn't reduced too much since the release. However, compared to the cubes GAN are releasing now, the price isn't too high. Now we have the GAN 12 Maglev. For the first time, the flagship came in 2 different variants, the Maglev and the Leap. This has happened with textures on flagships in the past, for example the 11. However, this is the first time that there has actually been quite a difference between the 2 cubes. As a very quick rundown, the Leap has a spring in the core, whilst the Maglev uses repelling magnets to get the spring-like feeling. This allows for a much faster turning experience due to there being no friction. Now onto the magnets, and this cube innovated on the original core magnets to make this new enhanced core positioning. This means that the magnets can attract from further away, allowing a much more stable and easy turning feeling. There are also more rods which you can place into the corners to get a stronger or weaker feeling. Overall, the magnets on this cube are very good. I would say that the tensioning system on this cube is great. All of the pieces are already inside of the cube and you only need this one tool to adjust the tensions. For that reason, I'm going to say this has one of the best tensioning systems of all the GAN flagships so far. I think that this cube has the biggest improvement from the previous year, as now we have a better magnet system as well as this new Maglev idea, which means that the rating for this is going to be very high. Finally, onto the price. This cube is quite expensive, which means it is less available to people, which is a shame due to how incredible it actually is. Onto 2022 with the GAN 13, which is the most recent flagship. This is fairly similar to the 12, but let's start with the magnets. This cube has an all-new magnet system, as now all of the pieces are inside the cubes, which means that instead of having to change the rods to get 6 magnet strengths, now you can just turn this wheel inside of the corner to get an equal amount of choices. This is great, as it makes using the cube so much easier, which means that this is the best cube in terms of its magnet rating. Now we have the tensioning system, which I do not like, as it is pretty much the exact same to the 12, apart from it looks different and requires this annoying tool, which looks like a SIM ejector tool. This is annoying as the 12 system was perfect, yet GAN felt the need to change it so that people would have a reason to upgrade. For me, this tensioning system is alright, but for the reason I just mentioned, I'm going to give it the lowest rating yet. Now onto the improvement from last year. It's alright considering the magnets. However, the overall cube and tensioning system aren't that new, which means I'm going to give this a fairly low rating for improvement. And finally, we have the price. This one is steep due to it being the newest release, and over time it will probably reduce, but £70 for a speed cube is a lot. Before we go on to the final ratings, if you want to buy any of these flagships, then make sure to check out speedcubing.org, as they are a great shop that sells cubes for amazing prices. I will leave a link in the description so you can check out their website. And now that's done for the individual ratings. However, if we look at the package as a whole in terms of the magnets, tensioning system, improvements and price, we have the XS at a decent rating due to the amount of improvements and how good this cube is for a relatively low price. Then we have the 11 at a really high rating. This is due to it having a great magnet system and an amazing amount of improvement. Also, the 11 is fairly cheap when it comes to a GAN cube, which is always a bonus. The 12 is slightly lower due to the price increasing. However, the new technology with enhanced core positioning means that this cube has a very good rating. And finally, we have the 13, which has a lower rating because of the very high price and not that much improvement. The best way to sum up GAN cubes is by looking at it like this. There are 3 categories: new, cheap and good. With any one of their flagships, you will get 2 out of the 3. For example, the 13, it is good and new, but it's definitely not cheap. With the XS, it is cheap and good, but in 2023, it is not a new cube. When buying a GAN cube, it is all up to which of the 3 options you don't mind compromising on.